high-end environment, heavily influenced by foreign press.
It seems you've directed your attention from the building of the city you were talking about on
No, we have not. You see, the reason why we move away from that city is we learn quickly. You know, in business, there's something called a learning organization. Do we have the land? Yes, we have 150 acres of land. We own a lot of land in Dwazo. We're about to add another 100 acres across the river. Mr. Jackson, we changed course because, one, we delayed our project, because when the status finally came back, and from what we've seen, for example, you notice there's this guy opposite shuffling, Mohammed, it's a tall gentleman that built I don't know what's the name of his community, but he's having challenges. From our experience in Ghana, the real estate market, we give you, you pay for the property in 24 months. Most of the people that want to buy, want to pay, you know, they are Liberians in America, they want a mortgage. But what they don't realize is the mortgage is not given by the developer, it's given by the bank, right? That house that he wants in America, that credit is given to him by his bankers. The developers get paid 100%.
100% by the bank.
By the bank.
And then the bank, you pay the bank.
That's why when you default, the bank takes it back from you. But in Liberia, we don't have that infrastructure. The banks here will give you at most 24 months credit, line of credit, right? And so in our case, like in Ghana, we have a payment infrastructure where, like right now, we're finishing up some developments in a place like East Legon Hills. That development is practically almost sold. I'll show you some of the pictures here. The reason is simple. People pay us in 24 months. You pay the first installment, maybe the first payment you make is 5,000. After that, you make another 15,000 or 20,000 after. So let's assume the property is 80,000, or let's assume it's 100,000, 150. Like East Legon Hills was selling them for 150 for the 3 bedrooms, 4, because you have a room in the back and bathroom for your boys' quarter. Then, so the main house has 3 bedrooms. Then we have the 4 bedrooms, which is the main house. Then in the back you have 1 bedroom. Those ones are going for like 200,000, right? So, but here's the deal: you pay us in 24 months. So
in 2 years.
In 2 years, but we give you the key. So after your payment, we don't give you the key at all. We realize in Liberia you don't have that real appetite. And so investing in such large-scale infrastructure will just lead to tears. And it's affected some people, like this guy to shuffling, you go there. Real estate developers go into the market with a particular quantity of money. Let's say the project is going to cost 10 million, 100 million, right? You go in with about 30-40% of that. And then you anticipate inflow will continue the building. So, but when you have when your demand is lower than your delivery, then it creates a whole lot of problem, and that's precisely what slow us with the Dwazon project.
Okay, I see.
But we see now that there is an appetite for rental property.
Rental.
Yeah, what has fed this is you go on the street, most of those buildings you see in single are all rental property going for anywhere between $1,500 to $3,000 a month. So people, expatriates and other people come into the country looking for move-in facility. So we see that there is an appetite in this market. We also see that this market has not developed the appetite yet. Liberians are not used to living in an apartment or owning an apartment, right? So to buy an apartment is something people do a lot in Ghana and in Nigeria, but that appetite is not here yet. And so these things take time in terms of you may have an aspiration for one thing for a market, but then in reality it doesn't work out.
Okay, let's move on now and come to talk about politics and some of the issues. Now, talking about politics, Mr. Simeon Freeman, you've contested twice or 3 times? Twice, as you want to be president of Liberia.
Right.
Don't you think it would have been better to start from somewhere other than the presidency, so you showcase your leadership ability, you showcase your understanding of the politics of the country, and people have an appreciation of who you are as a representative or a senator? Then they say, I think this guy can be a good president.
So there are, like the Chinese say, there are 1 million ways to get to heaven. One other way to make yourself known is to go straight for the gun, like I have done. Am I known across the country more than a representative would have been? Yes, I am. Are there missteps? Yes. Have we learned from that? Yes. We don't have some of the mistakes. We didn't really establish that real grassroots support, which is what we're doing now. So quietly behind the scenes, we're doing lots of grassroots support, lots of community engagement, lots of community projects, and we think that helps us to appreciate it versus the way we did it in the past. So that's why you haven't, in many respects, seen us in the open, because we've been correcting the missteps that we realized was the problem. Becoming a senator or a representative is no clear path to being a president. People that were senators have tried before and they clearly failed. People that are representatives tried before. Is that a clear path? No. To showcase your leadership,
some people who are senators also tried before and they got it.
Correct. So there is no magic wand. But to showcase one's leadership ability, I think I'm doing that quite a while. You know, I'm one of the few Liberians that have succeeded from government to government, from time to time. I've moved from businesses to businesses. We've learned, like, take the factory across the bridge, right, where we had the water factory. In another month or two, we should be opening, or maybe 3, we should be reopening, because we learned we started the business. We have 5,000 bottles per hour. A limited information. So you thought that, okay, with 5,000 bottles per hour, that was good. But then we realized that with 5,000 bottles per hour, it didn't give you the economy of scale that you needed. So now we've expanded to 25,000 bottles an hour. That's a huge capacity that even enables us to export to Sierra Leone as well. So with such huge capacity, it works. And that's why you see in other markets, people like Dangote, when they got into this business, they just went big, because if you just focus on the local market, it doesn't really work for you, because you need to have appetite for external consumption. So with 25,000 bottles per hour, we also expanded the facility. We're in a solid position in the coming months to just shoot. We should have opened this factory much earlier, but then with the hotel that we took over, Cinco Palace, we realized there was some structural defects. We shut it down. You should take a visit there. There's a lot of work going on, you know, inside there, in terms of replacing this, replacing that, and when we open, will be the best thing Monrovia has to offer.
Okay,
so every step of the way, when we learn, we correct.
That's good. Now, it depends on who you talk to, but a lot of Liberians believe that there are challenging times in the country. If we were looking at Simeon Freeman as the businessman, to what extent are you helping Liberians to help themselves in these kind of challenging times?
Oh, good. So the way we're doing it, I don't know if you're aware, but I'm sure you heard that, I don't know, you've been following, that the government is trying to keep the petty traders off the streets. Have you heard? So that the government been trying to, you should talk to them. They have the office right there on Camp Johnson Road. I can put you in
the petty traders.
Petty traders, I think more than 50,000 across this country. The government is trying to keep them off the streets. And we think it would be a good idea on the part of the government and ourselves. We're working with them. We're trying to guarantee a $75,000 loan for them. And the concept is simple. They are not just traders. They are basically people that form the bedrock of this economy. So we believe that, look, like you go to China and go to other places, what they've done, they've taken them off the streets. But the way they've done it, like in Beijing, I visited a place in Beijing just to understand another place in Shanghai. They took, I think it's a 5-story building, and you go there, this guy has this in a store, this guy has this in a store. If the government of Liberia can partner with them and build properties, right? We have a lot of public lands around here. If you build a full 5-story building, or the government say, look, in conjunction with Simeon Freeman or other businessmen, we build a 5-story building, these guys can sell in there, right? And then they can appreciate. The challenge they're having now is, you notice all on the streets, they're selling TV, they're selling stereo, they're selling and where do they buy it from? They buy it from the people that are the importers. And when they buy it from the importers, then they have to now compete, because the importer has leverage that they don't have. They buy at a price and they have to go and retail. So buying it at that price and going to retail affects them greatly. However, if you work with them and say, okay, we're going to bring in 2-3 containers of television, and we're going to work with them, so we give it to them in particular to sell. What does that do? It makes them to accumulate capacity. The same thing the Fuller people have done. You go to one store, Waterside, you probably see the store, 2-3 Fuller men in it, the 2-3 Fuller men in that store. Over time, they develop capacity. Even though there were 3 in one store, 2 leave behind, 1 go to another store, The other two go to another store and they develop capacity, and that's how they've been able to push the Lebanese out of water side. So what we're saying is we want to work with them to ensure that similar capacity is developed across the country so that they move away from this dependency of procuring and reselling. And I think
is it possible to do those kinds of developments away from the government? Businessmen like you are work with the bank to work with these petty traders.
It is, but it also becomes slower because government has a bigger muscles. Government has a bigger muscle. So, for example, government has properties within Central Monrovia, right? The government has properties within Central Monrovia. What I've told them is that let them find buildings, I'll pull up the resources who can rent so that they can sell in those buildings. We can find on Camp Johnson Road, we can find in Central Town, there are lots of buildings. So in that way, they will segment themselves within that building to develop capacity. And the purpose of the $75,000 funding is to start the process whereby we would target a few products, and those products would be imported. The beneficiaries will sell, and then they will develop capacity and grow dynamically.
Is it going to be a grant?
It's a loan that I'm guaranteeing.
Okay.
So they take the loan, I'm going to guarantee the loan, but they will also sign up for it because we want to make sure it works. And we're going to work with them. We're also working with some Susu clubs. I've been having meetings with various Susu clubs. The last time we ran a loan program, but it didn't go good because it came from a political standpoint. Now we're having meetings with actual Susu clubs, and we want to pump a lot of money into those Susu clubs so that, and the current rate, they told me some of them giving money for 15%, some of them 25%. We want them to get our money for 10%. And they were afraid that it would affect their current loan portfolio. We said, no, our money is not infinite, right? So if we give you, say, 5 million, give one group 5 million, give another group 5, give another group 3, and you loan it for 10% over a period, it means people develop capacity. Once our is exhausted, you can always go back to your old portfolio, but our loan will be for 10%. The profitability goes to the club. We're not interested in the profitability. We want to roll over. So from a business and private sector perspective, we want to work with them to create capacity, which for us is extremely important. The biggest challenge in our country is the lack of access to funding, the lack of capacity. Collaboration can be an issue. Like I was telling them, we will identify committed people among them that will take the lead, go to China, whichever country, and buy those things in bulk. If you buy from source, it helps you. Then over time, you can transition these same people into manufacturers. Like a guy in Nigeria, Innocent. Innocent was just a spare part dealer. He was basically a car seller. And then, the governor of the state, this guy, what's his name? The guy who ran for the presidency of Nigeria.
The Labour Party guy?
The Labour Party guy.
Okay.
Obi went to this guy and told him, look, we can do this. We can be a car manufacturer rather than just car importer. And the state gave him all of the help that he needed. And today, Innocent Vehicle, not just that, the state he was in bought, all of government vehicles were bought for Innocent. Government, whatever was bought from Innocent, and encourage the private sector to give him all of the incentives. Many times in our country, people feel you can develop outside government. There would have been no Dangote if there had not been an Obasanjo. Obasanjo practically helped him to develop the cement factory. Today, the guy is taking on monumental tasks, trying to build a private port. He's built today Nigeria as a net exporter of crude, of refined crude and stuff like that. You need government participation. So even though we have all of this good intention of working with these guys, but if the government comes in, say, with a $10 million muscle and say, look, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, it accelerates the process because we need to create that growth. The growth of business people that will take over our economy. We cannot always be looking for investors when we're not creating investors.
Except that sometimes governments will not listen to people like Simeon Freeman, because you want to be president too. Probably in Nigeria, Dangote did not want to be president. He was always a businessman. And so President Obasanjo thought it was good to empower a businessman and not empowering a politician who will gradually take over from you.
No, but that's the unfortunate thing. Obasanjo could have said, if I make Dangote, and not just Dangote, because he's the forefront, if I make Dangote and the other people rich, for example, let's take Obasanjo. Obasanjo decided no more importation of chicken parts or chicken egg into Nigeria. No more importation of fruit juices. We're going to encourage the making of it, right? Under his administration, they decided we're not going to import rice. We're going to encourage growing rice. So instead of spending 20 billion, Nigeria cut her import bill. So they could have said, you know what? If we create all these successful business people, they will gang up and determine who becomes president. If you see, the presidency is about public leadership, it's about the good of the country. If you have such a myopic view that, if I capacitate these group of people, they could threaten me, then you're too selfish to be in public leadership. So I could say, you know what? These guys that I'm helping, when I help them, they could go and vote for this party or vote for that party. I don't care who they vote for. What I want is to see that the next set of tall buildings that go up, wherever, will be Liberians. I want to see the next people that when I walk in a supermarket, will not just be all brown color skin people. It will be dark color skin people, Liberians. Like in the 70s, you could walk in Cinco, the biggest supermarket, Mims supermarket. She had one on Kem Johnson Road. She had one there in Cinco, the biggest, where you have what the place name? What's the name of that place? I think Orange has an office there, a sub office there. Mims supermarket. They let Naomi Gooden. She had the biggest Liberian business. So these are the things we're talking about. You walk across the bridge, Danko shipping line, the biggest. We need to try to give birth to that, because in Ghana they have their differences, but 70% of the economy.
No, but Mr. Freeman, I want you to be more. If we're being more honest, right? Honestly, do you think Obasanjo would have empowered Dangote had Dangote been a political leader of a party that have been running for president in Nigeria?
So let's
be honest.
So let's be honest also. You noticed something in the last elections in Nigeria that brought what's his name? The former president to power. The former president of Nigeria. Buhari.
Muhammadu Buhari.
I want you to notice something. Dangote was in the tenants. Maybe you're not associated with Nigeria, so you don't follow.
I follow Ghana a lot, other than Nigeria.
So Dangote was in the room when Goodluck Jonathan raised millions of dollars for his campaign, right? The day Buhari won, Dangote was right behind him. So it meant that, and we all do that. It meant Dangote played both sides, right? So if your mindset is capacitating John or Paul or Peter could threaten my long-term existence, then, like I said, the view is myopic. Because don't forget, I didn't say capacity me, I'm saying capacity more than 50,000 petty traders within the Republic, within Monrovia alone. That's 50,000. If 10,000 of those people succeed, you've created a whole honor growth of business people that you can search forward, that can go into many other industries. That's why we say capacitate them. Now, when you develop programs that create opportunities for people like me, right, it changes the mindset. Let's take Liberia. Why do you think we're always attracting the wrong people? Like, take for example, today the government is saying the price of flour will be this.
We'll come there.
Government should not be announcing price of flour.
We'll come there.
So you see, if government develop the policies, Mr. Clarence Jackson, by sitting here, you're not just a journalist, just by sitting on this platform, like for example, I first met you in Banga. Radio Banga. Now, just by sitting on this platform, you meet a lot of people. Somebody could say, look, Mr. Jackson, you're from Liberia, you're Liberian, you're a journalist, I want to set up a flour factory in Liberia. Why? Because of the right policies. If you have the right policies, it creates capacity. So if government mindset is, people like Simeon Freeman will be benefited, it's not going to stop me. Because don't forget, once I have $5, I can do that $5 in Sierra Leone. I can do the $5 in Guinea. I can do the $5 in Cote d'Ivoire. They have bigger economies than us. Anyway, I can do it in Kenya. I can do it in Tanzania. There's a lot happening in those environments. So, and that not just me, a lot of Liberians that have that capacity can do that. So if our mindset is, I want to be successful, but I don't want any threat to my throne, then it's going to affect us. And don't forget, this is not a new thing. Around 1948 to 55, there is something called a Statement of Understanding. I will send you that, just remind me. So that Statement of Understanding, there was an argument in Liberia as to how are we going to develop Liberia. Some people say, let's use Liberians. Some people say, no, let's use foreigners. So this argument have always been around. Today, your biggest contracts go to foreigners. Everything, look, iron ore tailings at the port of Buchanan. Something that is sitting there. All you need is somebody to export it. We're looking for foreigner to do that.
Okay, Liberian businessman and politician Simeon Freeman is our guest. He's a political leader of the Movement for Progressive Change. Several of our colleagues are here carrying it online from with the different online institutions, and of course Prime FM is relaying this show this morning. Let's move on and put more light on the Liberian economy, resuscitating the Liberian economy, and I want it from a Simeon Freeman perspective, your practical ideas. Every government that comes to power will come with an agenda.
Right.
George Weah was here. It was the Propo agenda for development. Joe Boakai now have got his, rescue agenda, and each of these agendas.
It's called arrest
agenda. I'm sorry, arrest agenda.
Right.
Each of these agendas talks differently about how they will resuscitate the economy. Liberians always talk about investing in private sector and trying to do domestic revenue mobilization. What is your practical idea about reviving or resuscitating the Liberian economy if we must hit the billion in years to come, for example?
And for me, it's not in years to come. You could hit $1 billion next year. Mr. Jackson, some of the things people haven't considered. When you were in Banga, we didn't have anything called container tracking number. When you look, they introduced it, it became a layer. When you're clearing container, it increases your cost. What people don't forget, we are an import-based economy. Anything that affects the price, the cost of clearing, affects the price of goods to the people. Then, at the time, we had only the MPA, National Port Authority. You have only one fee to pay. Today you have to pay APN Terminal, you have to pay National Port Authority. So you created 2 layers of fees. Then you have BVAC. You change from BVAC now, you go to something called METEC. Do you know the last time I brought in about 15 containers at the port? Okay. Do you know that it took almost 3 weeks for us to clear? And it was not our fault. METEC said they had a problem. We had to pay METEC. Then when we went to APN Terminal, they say it's not the problem. The shipping company say it's not their problem. So you pay the shipping companies demurrage, right? You pay them demurrage. You pay APN Terminal. You pay the MPA. You pay all these people, all these layers. The first thing I would do is to unravel those layers. What you don't need for importation, you take it away. One of the things I would get rid of immediately is GST, General Service Tax. You don't need it.
Why?
It's a burden. You see, everything, you're an import-based economy. Everything that burdens your people affects consumption. And when consumption is affected, it affects purchasing power. And that also affects the multiplying effect of money. Think about it. Say, 1 gallon of gas was $1.50. You will be tempted to go and spend weekends in Bassa, weekends in Ganta, weekends in wherever else, and you will be tempted to just drive around Monrovia because it's $1.50. But at $5, you're checking your gas, right? So when you put in $60 gas for the beginning of the week, when somebody says, drop me some, I got gas for that. So just by the price, you impact consumption. How do we want to transform this economy? We think the first thing has to do with relieving the burden of the people. All of these layers make few people rich and not necessarily that it provide any solution. Container tracking number really doesn't provide any tangible solution, long or short term. METEC, we can have a METEC, but we can have 4 other METEC. And the METEC doesn't necessarily have to be foreign owned. It can actually be locally owned. There is no real. They're doing destination inspection. Why are we so anxious to create wealth for foreigners and not for ourselves? Why can't we have Liberian businesses providing those inspectory services? So what that does is, today there is...
Are you looking at capacity issue?
Creating capacity, you can do it in a limited period of time, and you can do an arrangement. So let me ask you something. The Dangote refinery, you have lots of foreigners working there, but who owns it? It is not just Dangote that owns it. You have a lot of other Nigerian billionaires that have equity in there. You have a Nigerian stock exchange. Nigerian citizens also have equity in there. And he has basically some of the bulk equity. Maybe he floated for 60% of his shares. I'm not sure of the dynamics. So when we set up these infrastructure, Simeon Freeman, Clarence Jackson can own it and bring in a British guy to work for him. You see that visualization? So ultimately the wealth is here. Ultimately, knowledge is transferred through engraphing low cost to international expertise, and then it works. Today, you see some of the most beautiful cars coming out of China. China has been able to recruit Mercedes engineers, Rolls-Royce engineers, taking them back to China to work for local Chinese firms. You should look at some of the Chinese cars today. They're extremely amazing. The other day I saw some of them in South Africa, really amazing. In fact, the guys in South Africa are not even buying the BMs again because BMW offer you a lot less in terms of future. The Chinese car offer you a lot more, and it's a lot cheaper. So you want to get rid of those layers and create Liberian capacity. So my job as president is to make Liberians rich, not foreigners rich. That's the first thing I want to do. The second thing you want to look at, and how is that going to happen? It's going to happen through policies. One time, I'll tell you this much. I used to be a used car importer. I won't call the minister name, but we visited the minister, and the minister said, at that time, the minister said, I want to make sure that only Liberians can import used cars. And I sat in that meeting and said, Madam Minister, are you sure you want to do this? She said, I feel insulted. Why would you say that? Am I sure I want to do this? I said, because I want you to just answer my question. She said, okay, yes, I'm sure. I said, if you're really sure you want to do this, easy. Then she said it was the issue of fronting. Liberians will come and say they own this business. The Lebanese guy or the Indian guy will go to the Liberian man and he will front for them. I said, but it's easy to fight fronting. If you say you own the business, ask who signs the bank account. Whose signature is on the bank account of that business. It's easy. I can come to Mr. Jackson and say, front for me. But I won't put his signature on my checking account. So if the business, all of the business accounts, this guy is actually the signatory to this account, then it shows that he's not fronting. These guys will take risks, but not that type of risk. When I said it, she lied back in her chair. After that meeting, nothing happened thereafter. So in spite of the fact that we say these things, what we really want to do is totally different. The number one job for a government official, for a president, is to create jobs for Liberians, create opportunities. When I've done with these layers, the second thing you want to do, we want to tackle the waste in government.
The wastes.
Yeah. You see, people always say, oh, corruption, corruption, corruption. Our problem is not corruption. Our problem, you see, corruption is the outcome of lack of capacity. Let's face it. It's not an easy thing. We started the show by me saying thank you for the sacrifices people like you and many other people, the guys from Prime, the guys from True Fabric, OK, Punch, Voice of Liberia, all these guys make to come to the show in the morning. Freedom and order. Anybody might take it to be an easy thing. I may not have that discipline to do this every morning. Some other people might not. When you want to make a man minister of something, have you even been minister of anything in your own life? Most of these people don't even have the discipline to even control themselves. Most of these people leave government and you don't hear about them again ever. They don't even have a shop. And if they did run a shop, it broke down. But you take that same person and you want to make the person minister of something that has to add value to the lives of millions of people. Are we serious? But these are the core issues. That's why I'm saying the real challenge that we have in government, lack of capacity. So if you don't have capacity, you become myopic. Let's go back to Nigeria. This woman, Okonjo Iweala, she came from the World Bank. They brought her to Nigeria.
I think a finance minister.
Yeah, as finance minister. Oh no, Obasanjo.
Yeah.
It was under her administration that most of these policies were pushed. Rice. Why are we spending $20 billion per annum on rice production? Today, Nigeria is self-sufficient in rice production. And who are the people that are rich? I can take you to some of my friends' warehouses in Nigeria. You will shocked. You will be shocked. You will see the massive warehouse infrastructure. Nigerians are investing in the sector. Juice factories. Sugar is such a big deal. Why? Because one policy from one government after 8 years changed the landscape forever.
You wanted to talk about your practical idea about cutting down wastes.
I'm coming to that.
Yeah.
So the way to cut down waste, let's face it. If you look at our budget, more than 90% of that budget is spent on recurring
expenditure.
Salaries alone, I think salaries about either 22 million or so per month, just somewhere in that range. That's why you see this government will never have, as much as they criticize harmonization before coming to power, since they came to power, they've never mentioned it. Because nobody is willing to put that $3 to $4 million back on the payroll. It's too high. I think it was somewhere around 26 or so million or so. It was rising. Now, you have to cut that waste. Whether we like it or not, using government as a means of job creation or as a means of opportunity creation is only a long-term liability. I am on record to say...
You call that a long-term liability?
It's a long-term liability.
Okay.
Every year you take 5 million, you give it to LBS. You take another 5 million, you give it to Ministry of Information. To do what? For them to talk, then we establish another bureau now. Bureau of what? Culture, I think they call it tourism. To do what? You come into a lot, another $2-3 million per annum. Whereas, if the government has said, we're going to allot $3 million annually from the central bank to the commercial bank. Mr. Jackson, you want to invest in tourism in Bon County, in Basso, or for now, we're focusing on Cape Man and Buchanan. If you want to invest, there's $2 million loan. You can say, okay, let me do a design and get 100 or 200,000 to build something that will attract tourism to this country. But we take that money, we're going to spend it on a government infrastructure. We have a problem of Bapolu County, Grand Cru County. The people say, well, we are part of Grand Jira. We are not River G. We are part of Grand Jira. Grand Cru say we are part of Sino or Maryland. We were not heard. We want our own county. What did we do? We established a county. 2 senators earning more than $2 million a year. It's not just your salary, the Senate office, everything that is given to you. Then you got representatives. Since you created Grand Cru County, what has changed? But every year you have a long-term liability. So all we're saying, we need to reduce the size of this government. And by reducing the size of the government, doesn't mean we create unemployment. When we reduce the size of the government, if you work for government, we put you on a free payroll while we transition you to the private sector. When we give you a job in the private sector, we free up that payroll. You will see over a 24 months period, our payroll per month from 22 million may probably shrink to about 15, 14
So
billion.
what will you be cutting? Let me hear what
some
you
of the
cutting.
ministry. Look,
okay.
Do you need a Ministry of Commerce to sign IPD? No. You have to let it go. The only thing I may keep would be a National Investment Commission, and we give you a wider scope. Do we need an internal audit agency? No, I let it go. Keep the GSC. Do we need a Ministry of Information? No, let it go. Do we need to keep ELBC? Sell it to a private entity. Let it compete like OKFM, Prime FM. There are lots of things you can let it today. I see a board appointed National Food Assistance Agency. National Food Assistance Agency came about in the early years when we needed to provide food assistance directly. When was the last time we did that? You setting up a whole board, you have a whole administration, you giving them budgetary allotment to do what? Everybody, we just appoint in government. Everybody wants some kind of government job, government title, and that's the only way you can be relevant. And when that government leaves, you see the people walking around like, Pastor Man would say, so like they never had money before. It's bad. We can create a country of bureaucrats and liabilities, and then we say, oh,
if you were scratching out ELBC and the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism, who's going to articulate government policies and programs to the people?
It's simple. Every ministry and agency already have a press office. You know that. Every ministry in this country already have a press office. The worst of all, then the office of the president already have a whole press secretary to the president that has a whole infrastructure, deputy press secretary. So even if you cut off the press wing of the ministries, they can still report the outcome to the press secretary, and the press secretary will do that. You don't need a whole ministry for that. You see, these are the issues. We got too many layers. You know, you don't need an LPRC for that purpose. You know, to be fighting, you importing petroleum, you fighting with the people. Let the private sector take care of its own self, because it's going to work. You know, I don't know how old you are, but I'll tell you what. Several years ago, there was this argument. I sat with one president. I don't like to call the names because, you know, these are personal conversations. And I said, look, let's get rid of the Liberia Telecommunications Corporation. At that time, our LTC situated on Lane Street. And the president said to me, my brother, you don't understand. This is national security. Today, one of the largest income generating sectors, mobile phone, data. Who runs it? Private companies. It's no national security at stake. Water and sewer. Why are we still pumping money into water and sewer? Give that, look, I got a group of friends that can run that thing tomorrow morning. I can even invest in it and we can change it around. It will become competitive and you don't have to give it to one person. You can divide it. You can divide Monrovia into parts, 4 parts, and you can divide the country all into zones, and it's going to work effectively. People will have water. There will be no issue of the managing director and the deputy, because the deputy comes from maybe another powerful politician around the president. The second deputy comes from another powerful group of politicians around the president. The head comes from another group of powerful politicians around the president. So everybody is reporting to different loyalty infrastructure. When the private sector take over here, we'll cut that nonsense. Everybody has to reapply, and if you're good enough, we maintain you. If you're not good enough, we repurpose you, and water will be delivered 100% without the explanation, without these things. We don't need to be pumping the millions we pump into things like LEC and all that. These things drain us. So today, the executive mansion, all the ministries are not paying LEC bill, but guess what? They're paying the telephone bill. Every one of them buy the cards prior to. Nobody owes anybody. But when you give it to the private sector, no joker will start paying the bills. You don't owe me, I don't owe you. You use my service, you got access to it. Period.
Okay. That's the Simeon Freeman. Let's move on. Just this morning, I was reading an executive mansion release. Recently, the president appointed the vice president on the committee to look at the prices of basic commodities on the market. And this is so probably because Liberians have been complaining that there were increase in the prices of basic commodity, our staple, the ice, the flour, and blah, blah, blah. The vice president has been working. Committee being submitting recommendation to the president. Initially, they reduced the price of the staple and flour. Just last night, the president issued a statement dropping the price of a carton of eggs from 60 to 50 United States dollars.
Right.
People will always be divided in
right.
opinion on these kinds of issues. What do you think about it?
You see, Mr. Jackson, again, like one time I was in Lofa, in one town called Zolo, and the old man told me you have to look at the old map to plot the new map. And that statement, I sat down in my chair, and it meant so much. I remember under Samuel Doe, they needed to influence the rate, the late former President Doe. And they forced the rate. First thing that happened was you couldn't find money changers. If you did find a guy, it was a different deal altogether. Then on Madam Shirley, if you remember, we did similar pronouncements. Never worked. On Taylor, we did similar pronouncements. Political interference in commercial infrastructure never works. Price is a factor of several things. If I were president, I won't make that pronouncement. You know what I'll do? I will floor the market. And the way I'll floor the market, how many rice importers are there? If there are 10, we create 30 rice importers. Let the market forces determine their own infrastructure. What I will do will be to ensure the layers that I have on top of rice importation are removed. Container tracking number. If I'm bringing a shipload of rice, imagine what I have to pay to the container tracking company. If I bring a shipload of rice, imagine how much I have to pay to a method. If there are alternatives, it creates competition. Somebody else can provide a cheaper cost. If there are 4 local inspectorate companies like Liberian run, then it changes the dynamics. When those layers are changed, it affects everything. These kinds of reactions are tough. Here is why it's tough. Let's say I bought rice from the guy for, say, $14.50. And I took that rice to Maryland. Transportation was added. That's just my cost of goods. You haven't even added my cost of rent and my operational and admin costs. So I'm selling the rice in Maryland for, say, $18 or $20. One inspector in faraway Maryland come to my shop and seizes my rice and say, the president said this rice should be this. It deprived me because, far away like that, justice is quite blurry. The same thing happens. So what happens as a result? Other people start to hide the rice. Now it leads to hoarding. And hoarding leads to what? Higher increases. You don't detect the price based on an executive marshal release. It has to be market forces. And the way to influence that would be reducing the layers on top of it. The other aspect would be removing the taxation on rice for a period. To say, okay, if you bring it in rice, you're not going to pay this tax. As a result of that, and because you have many market importers, so for example, if I want to sit on Prime FM and Prime FM say, okay, look, we charge you $500 per hour, I go to Truth say we charge you $200 an hour, I will say, okay, I will deal with Truth. So Truth will have more volume, and because Truth has more volume, it's going to force Prime to reduce her price. It's market forces. If we're not using market forces, we're using presidential proclamation. So is the executive marshal now determining prices and operating costs?
And you think those proclamations are arbitrary? Don't you think they are conversations?
Even if they are conversations, it does not take into consideration the window. You have conversation with an importer. You did not have conversation with a retailer. The retailer bought 10,000 bags of rice. Let's take the guy that's saying the price of rice in Kakata is cheaper than the price of rice in Monrovia. But obviously, it has to be. Why? One store down Waterside is probably going to cost me maybe 10,000 a month. 10,000 a year. Whereas the store in Kakata will cost me 1,500. My overhead cost is slimmer. My apartment in Kakata probably cost me $150 a month. I live right above my store. Whereas my store here, my apartment here is probably costing me $1,500 per month. So yes, from here, it's the same thing in Ghana. Prices of things in Kumasi are cheaper than some of the things in Accra because cost is a factor. So your operating cost changes everything. People don't put these into the mix. So you don't want to work with prices that way. What you want to do is to enable the environment. Let market forces determine that, like was done in Nigeria, like was done in Nairobi, like was done everywhere else.
You were saying if there are 10 rice importers are increasing the number, it means government encourage more importers in the sector?
Because right now government, you see, that's what the Ministry of Commerce does. That's why we want to get rid of them. When you want to import rice, you have to go to them for IPD. So that import declaration permit. And when it came into being? It came into being in the 80s when one commerce minister was minister. And the whole concept of IPD started in South Korea. Sometimes we use these things, we don't even know the history. During the Asian financial crisis in South Asia, South Korea was desperate. She went to the IMF. Then the IMF said, if you want our assistance, these are the conditions. South Korea was not permitting the importation of rice. And don't forget, those days, America was one of the biggest rice exporters, the Powerball rice. So the IMF and the World Bank said, you want our money? You have to now permit the importation of rice. So the Asians, because they were so desperate, and also you have to open up your market and make it a market-based economy. And the studies was done. Over a 10 years period, South Korea had exported more than 600,000 cars to America, whereas America had exported less than 5,000 cars to South Korea over a 10 years period. So America said, look, because of our influence at the bank those days, we still is strong. Look, let these people open the market. You know what South Korea did? South Korea said, fine, we're going to open our market, but this is what we're going to do. If you come to us to import rice, we're going to give you a permit. So Mr. Jackson comes and said, we want to bring in 5 shiploads of rice. We gave him a permit to bring in 5,000 containers of rice. So Mr. Jackson cannot say we didn't give him permission to import rice, right? So they had to protect the local economy. The agricultural sector in South Korea was strong. It was the bedrock of the economy. They didn't want to kill it. That's why you see companies like Samsung Do that history. Samsung was actually a company selling pineapple and apple. It was a vegetable company, and today the transition. So in every respect, what you want to do is that whole IPD, you want to kill it and open the market, let there be more importers. Then the burden on top of importation, you remove it. Market forces will clearly determine. Let me give you one example. Today, how many cement factories you have? You have 4.
You in the business.
I'll tell you, you got 4. You got Cementco, you have one in the Freeport, you have one Seti, then have one, then you have one in Basel. 4 cement producers now here. Has it affected the price of cement? It has. Today you can buy it for $7 something cent. Some people sell it $7. Depends on your volume.
You need more?
No, what I'm saying, just by having 4 cement producers, what happened is cost price stabilization in the cement market. It's increased availability. You know, remember some time ago, there was cement scarcity, cement issues. Today, you don't have that anymore. So when you encourage more participants in the market, what happens is, and then you take the layers off it, continual tracking number, all these medtech that you have to pay APN terminal, you have to pay port charges, all these different things that you have to pay. Let there just be the taxation on top of the import duty on top of it. It changes the game, it changes the weight, it changes the price infrastructure, because the businessman already has other layers. He has to pay for his warehouse in Monrovia, he has his overhead costs, he has to bring in a requisite staff to take care of all that, he has to preserve the product, because rice and flour is such that if you have the rice and you don't store it properly, it gets hard from underneath. That's loss.
Mr. Freeman, thank you. Most of the things we'll be asking you to talk about will be from your perspective, because you want to be president of Liberia.
Right.
I do not have the statistics in my hand to really lay hands on, but from experience, I think there are more than 1.7 million people out there about residing in Monrovia.
That's right.
I am not sure Monrovia, as a city, have the capacity for that.
Right.
I am not sure this kind of number would have been here. Probably I will not have war, all this kind of thing, even though the war is over. Let me hear your idea of de-urbanization, discouraging people from coming to the urban area but remaining where they are, and government providing the available infrastructure and environment for them to remain where they are. What's your idea?
I'll give you one example, Mr. Jackson. I'm sure you've heard the story of Dubai.
I've heard a lot about
Dubai. You hear lots and lots of story about Dubai. What you don't hear is how it came about. Dubai is not a country. Dubai is one of 3 emirates or regions of the United Arab Emirates. You have Sharjah, you have Abu Dhabi, then you have Dubai. They have 3 rulers. The ruler of Dubai, and I'm using the example so you can see the picture.
Yeah.
The ruler of Dubai decided, you know what? We're going to create a tax haven. Come here, don't pay us anything, set up your factory, do your business, make your money, come in with your workforce, and that's it. I was in Dubai. I'll give that experience. I talked to one of the cars I was using, it's the Lexus that we hire over there. And I spoke to the guy who owned the company. Do you know how many cars he has? He has 5,000 vehicles. He alone in Dubai. 5,000. And he's not an Emirati. He's from Pakistan. He's a Pakistani. And he said most of his drivers are from Pakistan. He's got Rolls Royces, Lexus,
you mean 5,000 vehicles for commercial?
Yes.
Okay.
For commercial.
Okay.
He came to Dubai based on that attraction. It's the city that moves. What do you do with Liberia to de-urbanize? If I'm president, I would take a few coastal cities. Cape Man has a reputation for tidal waves. People come from around. A few normal people. Tidal waves. Grand Bassa County, beautiful coastline. The whole Grand Bassa coastline. Monrovia is now saturated. You got Riverside sitting there dead. Sino, Maryland. I will create those places. Will create a tax haven. If you start up a business there, you don't pay us any tax. What then happens? You want to target people that want to open industries in those areas. From our perspective, from central government, every year we allot at least $20 million to $30 million for the business sector. What do we want to do? We want to take that money. We're not going to take the money and give it to anybody that government money. We're going to give that money to the Central Bank of Liberia. The Central Bank of Liberia already has just a matter of paperwork, and they will loan it to the commercial banks with onward instructions. When Mills Jones was governor of the Central Bank, he came up with a 5-year loan program for real estate developers. So, real estate development. So if you are working, Mr. Jackson could go to LBDR or any other bank, take a loan of up to $35,000 to build his house and pay back over 5 years period of a small interest rate. So these things are workable. And I just have to provide that for the naysayers who will say, oh, these things are theoretical, like people that will call and say. So if you get that money, then what happens? You can only access this fund if you're going to set up a factory in Riverside, in Sino, in Maryland, in Cape Mount. What would you have done? You created both the resources and created the incentive. I'll give you a country called Costa Rica. Costa Rica wanted to attract American pharmaceutical giants. Costa Rica said, if you establish a pharmaceutical company in Costa Rica, we are going to pay your employees for the first 6 months because you are teaching our people.
The government pays.
The government pays your employee for the first 6 months because you're teaching our people how to work in the pharmaceutical industry since we don't have that capacity. The government will also give you 100% duty free for everything you're bringing to convert to drugs, since we may not have all of the implements, and not the implement, the materials you need to create that drug. If you're selling the drugs on our market, we give you 50% duty free. And there were scores of other incentives for foreign workers that you bring in over what period of time. When the government did that, it started to attract foreign pharmaceutical American giants that started to go to Costa Rica. What took them was the structure and policies that you put in place that attracted them. What is going to attract people to Liberia for certain kinds of industries is that we create the environment. If we don't create the environment, what's going to be the outcome? Think about it, Mr. Jackson. Oh, say no to drug. Say yes to what? What's the alternative? Okay, you say no to drug. Then you say yes to what? You come to Monrovia. Those days, in the 70s, Dole community didn't exist. In the 80s, it started to grow. Today, Dole community is something else. All those places are slum. You come from Grand Cru, you come from Banga, you come from Lofa, you come to Monrovia. Thanks to technology. Today, there's Facebook, there's Instagram, there's TikTok. I don't need anybody telling me. I just go online, I will see what Monrovia looks like, right? I get in the car, I come to Monrovia. One other man in Slipway is my cousin or my brother. I come. He's sleeping in one room. There are already 2 there. I join and with 3. The thing I came to get, the better opportunity I came to chase in Monrovia, I'm not getting it. What happens next? I'm consumed by frustration, hopelessness. What's my next consolation? Drugs. It's not all of the drug consumers that are Zogos. So if you don't create that alternative in terms of public policy, you can fire people from DEA for our care. Maybe 6 months from now, you fire that other crew again. It's not going to change anything. If you say no to drug, then you say yes to what?
Okay, let's go this way, and then we can take some time to talk to callers on the lines and those kinds of things. Now, there are a lot of national assets that are currently lying, and even the flowers that were planted for the beautification of this place have been left to go their own ways. I'm talking about the Hotel Africa, the Ducal, the blah, 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 all these national assets. What's your idea? How do we as a country try to bring these things back and raise a lot of money from it, make our tourism sector probably attracted so that we move Liberia's economy and the budget ahead?
Remind me after the show, I'll give you a document when Madam Sirleaf was acting finance minister around 1978, 77, thereabout. Liberia borrowed about a little over 200 million. I think it must have been 240 or 250. And I'll give you that document to build Hotel Africa. Hotel Africa was first built to host the Organization of African Unity. So they built the conference center, state of the art. They also built the Hotel Africa. They built the villas. The villas were for the presidents. And then the Hotel Africa itself, I think it has about 100 and something or 200 rooms, I stand to be correct. Those things are monies that were borrowed and they were built. One of the challenges I see in Liberia when John comes to power, he's looking for his own project. Because the whole thing is about this one that is this person's project, is this other person's project, those kinds of arguments. And I think one of the best ways to win government off those things is clearly you set up a consortium. I'm not in for giving these things to external investors. Let's do a consortium of locals, right? That's what I'm saying. In my government, how am I going to create jobs? I'm going to create jobs by creating opportunities for people that support me. The job we're going to create for you will not be to make you assistant minister, deputy minister for administration, assistant minister for administration, director for administration, director for, all kinds of things. That's not how I'm going to create jobs. I will take Hotel Africa, I'll take Mr. Clarence Jackson, 4 other Mr. Clarence Jacksons. Go and set up a company. We give you Hotel Africa. We give you the first $10 million in loan, not for free. You're taking it off the commercial bank. And then go out and attract investment. One of the things I want to push on our Simeon Freeman government would be a stock market. It's very important. If you look at Momo did more than $2 billion. Just people transferring money through the app. Today, Momo is such a big platform. Not just Momo, but you have Orange Money, all the mobile money platforms. If you have $10,000 to spare, instead of keeping that money in Susu clubs, you can put it on the stock market. If we open our stock market, we have these kinds of infrastructures attracting money off the stock market to be resuscitated. Then from the government perspective, we created attraction by building a road going to Hotel Africa. So now we've created a 5-star resort for you, same as Duco. Government continual ownership of these things leads to continuous degradation. It doesn't lead to anything. Duco was the same thing. During the time when Sawyer, the late former president, Amos Sawyer, was interim president, the whole government was at Duco. So anybody that's much older during that time, the IGNU, interim government of national unity, was at Duco. Then they moved from Duco, they moved to Hotel Africa. No payment of facilities. They were in all of the suites. They ran down the place. When the government changed hands, then everybody forgot about the national assets and it became what it actually is. What I want to do from a private sector perspective, from a government perspective, take those kinds of facilities, give it to locals. This whole thing about foreign, it just pisses me off. We need to be able to have our locals capacitated, take care of those infrastructures, and they will develop wealth, and that's how we'll be able to change our landscape permanently. But this whole concept of one foreigner king, he came with 50 million, he came with this. That foreigner is citizen of which country? A country created him. Nigerians also invest here. Ghanaians are investing here. Why don't we have, say, 500 Liberians investing in other countries? Or that 500 Liberians coming together and say, okay, you know what? We're going to build the biggest chicken production facility in Liberia. And we export like you see happening in Nigeria. Because we're not creating capacity. We disgrace our people. We chase them. A Liberian man looks good, then he's a rogue. The other day, I think some kind of noise came up and somebody said, oh, I told 8,000 in Agella. And I said to the guy, the watch that I wear costs right now is valued at $400,000. I look like somebody who's going to take
$400,000.
Yeah, US dollar.
Your watch?
This is a Richard Mill. What do you think this is? A joke?
The watch on your hand now?
Yes.
Almost $500,000?
Yes. So what do you think this is?
What do you do that? Why? I mean, you're talking about creating wealth. How are you wearing watch?
You see, that's the thing. When you invest in an apartment, unfortunately, we have to leave the question, but let me just answer that because it's very important.
Mm-hmm.
When you invest in an apartment, let's say you pay $200,000 for the apartment or the house, right? Over the next 5-10 years, you have to maintain that house, right? When you buy a car, over the next 10 years, you have to maintain that car. Wash is not just a timepiece. From our perspective, it's an investment. So this wash, I pay about $250,000 today. Is value $400,000. It's gone up. I don't have to maintain it. I just wear. I got 2 of them. There's this one called the Booba Watson. There's other one.
Meaning you can give it all anytime.
No, I can give it all. I have it. So if I
to reinvest the money into something else.
If I wanted to invest, I just go in Dubai, I go Hong Kong, and I can pawn the watch, and I will get more than what I paid for. I've been using it over the last couple of years, and the value has grown. I can pawn this watch for $250,000. I will still get my $250,000 back, and I walk away. So you see, watch is not just a timepiece. That's why people buy expensive watches. You don't understand. I think there was this thing that came out. David who gave his girl, his wife, this expensive watch called the Richard Mille. It's another version. They have several versions. I have the latest version. All that. People don't understand. It's an investment.
What's your idea finally for the expansion of electricity in this country? Any practical solution, idea do you have?
Today, again, let me use the Nigerian example. You have lots of private players. Even this David Du father is setting up a 1,200 megawatt infrastructure in terms of power. There are many other players. Tony Illumino is also invested. He's also invested in power. There are other guys that have invested in power in Nigeria. You see, these are all Nigerian locals that have developed capacity. The second biggest mobile phone company in Nigeria is a Nigerian-owned one. What am I giving these things? Look, power in Liberia, the methodology, the approach, like I said on Madam Selly time, we got a $200-something million from the Millennium Challenge. What did we do with it? We pump it into St. Paul Man Coffee Hydro. But don't forget, Mr. Jackson, in the 80s, long before today, that St. Paul Man Coffee Hydro, we have about, I think, how many megawatts, or 30 something, or something, 40 something megawatt. Every time during the dry season, we had insufficiency of power. They would say the hydro is dry. Then we took all that money and pump it into it. What if that $200-something million we had divided it into solar, we had divided it into wind, we had divided it into hydro? Can we put a hydro on the Kavala River? Yes. Can we put a hydro on Farmington? Yes. Can we put
I think we're going solar now.
Can we put a hydro at Ganda? Do you know some of the biggest waterfall we have in this country is not Patawi? Patawi is baby. Ganda in Basso at the back of lot, one of the biggest. Also Kokoya, you've been in a broad country. Kokoya waterfall is far bigger. Nobody goes there because the road is so bad. Could we put hydros in those areas to supply those? Today we're supposed to be a net exporter of power. What am I going to do with power? If I'm president today, LEC will no longer be a public facility. We'll take action to privatize. So not to give it to foreigner, it's going to be privately run. Then we, as the government, will also avail resources in conjunction with the private sector. Where one of the things we'll do too, the minimum capital requirement in Liberia is about $10 million. I want to move that up to $40 million as soon as I become president year one and give them 2 years, 24 months to raise up that capital.
You take it from 10 to $40 million.
To $40 million. And we ask the banks to recapitalize. In Nigeria, you see when you're talking these things, people listening don't understand the story. In Nigeria had more than 5,000 banks. Then there was this guy called Sanusi, became governor of the central bank. And he said, look, these banks are failing, same way banks were failing here. And that there would be need for consolidation. And they didn't force them to consolidate, they just said the new minimum capital requirement is this. So imagine if we say to be an FM radio station in Monrovia, you have to be able to show a minimum bank balance of $500,000. What will happen? You and Pram will start talking. Automatically. You and Pram and True will start talking. The owners will come together and say, look, we don't have this money. If we want to show it, then we have to come together. So it compels consolidation. In fact, right now, the current Central Bank of Nigeria came up with new capital requirements. The 10 million have been around here too long. We'll push it to 40. When we push it to 40, it means that banks in Liberia will be able to give one client up to $4 million. Right now, no bank can give you more than $1 million. No bank can do that because it's going to be 10%, not more than 10% of the capital requirement. So what I want to do, I want to be able to privatize things like LEC, then take about 50 million, you can take 25, $30 million a year over the next 6 years of my presidency, or we're pushing for things like 4 years, or the next 4 years, that's about $100 million. Where we give it to the commercial bank and we loan it for alternative power. We'll do an assessment of the power needs. In rural Liberia, the man don't have ice packs. It's not ice packs he really needs. He doesn't have air condition. It's not air condition he really needs. What he needs is fan. He needs electricity for his, not ice pack, sorry. He doesn't have air condition. He doesn't have washing machine. He needs his freezer working. He needs his lights working. So we can provide alternative power sources that will give us the grill. And this national grill then will run. So what would then happen? You have lots of private players. You notice all of my conversation is creating private capacity, because that's how you wean people off government. That's how you take people from out of Monrovia. If you have multiple factories in Bond County or in Nimba or in Basel, why would I leave a sugar production facility in Basel and come to Monrovia to do what? I'm just going to come and visit.
Simeon Freeman is head of the Movement for Progressive Change. This is the OK Morning Rush. It's been really on Truth and Prime FM. And of course, in studio here, Ablige TV is here from Buchanan in Grand Bassa County. Radio Magic FM is here from Buchanan in Grand Bassa County too. They're doing it now. So you can call us now on 0777-700-99 and 555-995-995. Just call your name, go straight into it, because we want to get more questions. Mr. Freeman will be writing, and then his time will come to respond. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, Eugene, let's hear you. Okay, Eugene, thank you, my brother. Good morning. Good morning, I'm good. Okay. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, Nimle.
It's not being heard.
Okay, our technicians will have to come. Mr. Freeman is facing problem with hearing. AB will have to come in. Hello? Good morning. Yeah, Moga. Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Okay. For the same DSTV, thank you. Your message is across. We go on this other line, then we move to the ground lines. Hello? Good morning, sir. He's listening. Okay, focus. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hello? Yeah? Yeah, Joe? Go ahead. Okay, thank you. Hello? Yeah? Mm-hmm. Oh, you might have gone to my man, you stay around more than 1 year. Wow. Okay, let's hear you. We'll talk that one off there. Thank you. Thank you. Those of you outside the country, I see you complaining a lot. You can call WhatsApp, plus 231 777 464050. Those of you outside the country, plus 231 777 464050. Good morning. Good morning, sir. All right. Mhm. From whose analysis? From Simeon Freeman's analysis? Thank you. Thank you. Let me go right here on this other line. Hello? Good morning.
Hello, guys.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. My name is Ishmael Flomo.
Ishmael, go ahead.
I joined you from Kingsville. Yeah, so as I was saying, I really admire Simeon's pragmatism. He's a very practical economist. I like that. Of course, some of the things he mentioned, of course, know there was some errors. Of course, some of the data he gave are not accurate, especially about Nigeria and some of the countries we're measuring. But having said that, Simeon Freeman is personal investment in Nigeria.
For example, what data he gave about Nigeria that is not accurate that you want to provide clarity to?
He talked about Nigeria being a net exporter of rice, which is completely inaccurate. Last year, Nigeria imported over 1.7 million tons of rice. Let me check the record.
Okay.
Of course, they're doing well in rice production, but they're still struggling with some of the issues. Now, Simeon Freeman's personal investment in Nigeria has been really with all sort of allegations of labor rights issues, low wages, and all of that. I hope his new personal investment, he should consider, these issues very well. Secondly, I wonder why he's not talking about the low-hanging fruit issues. He's talking about avocado investment in Kenya, which is doing. What infrastructure? How does it intend to develop infrastructure for exporting avocado from Nigeria, Mr. President?
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Good morning. Yeah. Yes, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you. The WhatsApp line is open. Hello? Hello there? Hello? You say so you're listening to something over there. Let me take to the last. Hello? Good morning. I want to take in WhatsApp calls on this 464050 number. Yeah, go ahead, Oman. But the last question there, oh man. The last question, ask your question straight to the man. You say you want to ask. I don't understand anything, Chief. We gotta move on, man. We gotta move on. We gotta move on. Hello? Good morning, sir. Yeah. When you are in Liberia, don't call me on WhatsApp because you know I will know and I will not take you. I'm talking about people outside. Yeah, go ahead. No, my brother Chief, 1 minute now. That kind of characterization of other people is unfair. You can't do that. Don't be calling people those kinds of names. You can say maybe we let leaders who do not deliver, who do not. But when you start characterizing, to say somebody is what you say the person is, it gotta be proven, my brothers. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Hello. Yeah, hello. Good morning. Hello. Good morning. My name is Jerry and I joined the conversation from Yes, Jerry. Yes. Good morning to Mr. Freeman. Mr. Clarence, I listened to Mr. Freeman. This is my second time listening to him. He's a good guy. People. But one thing that is lacking, and the same thing is not suffering the performance. They know Liberia problem on paper. But then
then you going there to redeem, and when you catch him, you will go with them. So, but they are always have the children, they have the understanding of chasing Nigeria on paper. And to get down to the people using the means, to be able to get a vote to change the people after they like it.
Okay. Thank you. Let's take two more, and then we'll go back to Mr. Simeon Freeman. Hello.
Good morning, Clarence.
Good morning, sir.
Let me say good morning to Mr. Freeman. This is Godwin Ware Jr. And I'm joining from the car with you this morning.
All right,
Well,
Godwin.
Clarence, listening to Mr. Freeman as always. But there's an issue that he talked about Nigeria. Take, for example, he talked about Dangote. And he talked about someone who is also who have a car factory or so. And their government, the president decided to combine them and to invest in them. But I can think of Mr. Freeman. The only example I just gave, these are people with the required integrity. These are people with the desire clarity. And that's why their government has invested into them. Now, Clarence, do you know the Brazilian hotel in Kokotown?
Of course I do.
So Mr. Freeman was invested by the SDA Church to manage that particular institution. Today, under his administration, because protested to the extent that the church has to take that particular structure for Mr. Freeman. I don't want to talk about the domestic issues because there are a lot of people who,
they've taken it back for him. He just said massive renovation going on, and he's even inviting me to go there and see it. Okay. All right. Thank you. Let me do this one as the final one, man. Then we come back to Mr. Simeon Freeman. Hello? Why are you laughing, Mr. Freeman? Hello? Good morning. Are you there? Good morning. Yeah? Yeah, Taylor, let's hear you.
Yeah, I want to thank the NBC political
Mm-hmm.
he gave my admiration. I love, but you know, class was going to call us that those who want to come, I mean, they don't that quality is not, they are accepted by people. So I want to know how is it going to managing, changing the strategy and making sure that he acquires people. But one question, why you talk on the like traffic management? You will be like government. I want you to answer that.
Okay, Mr. Freeman, let's listen to you. A lot of questions. Let's hear your perspectives.
Yeah, so I will start from below and then go up. So my thoughts on the Liberian traffic management. I think that's another bad example of how we manage our country. You already have a Liberian printing drivers, license plates. It could be expanded to a driver's license. It could also, if we need additional capacitation, that capacitation could have been done. But we take the opportunity from a Liberian, we give it to a foreigner. The foreigner brings absolutely nothing to the table. We lied and say it's a $40 million investment. I'm wanting $40 million investment in what exactly? And today, we have a serious challenge. Under my presidency, such a thing wouldn't happen. The gentleman I call and say the hotel was mismanaged. It's unfortunate how people make statements. We assume that hotel with an integrity issue. They didn't give us the billing because we said in the advantage. No, they gave us the billing because we are a business and we applied for it like everybody else. There were many other applications. We met the requirements and we took it over. But there were integrity issues. What he doesn't know, that facility is owned by the SDA Church in Abidjan. We have something called the division, and it's owned by the World Church called the GC. They own that property, so it's not owned by the SDA facility in Liberia. And with their approval, in fact, they've approved for us to spend a little over $400,000 to resolve a lot of the issues. That's why when you come there today or tomorrow, because from here I'm going there, I go there almost every day once I'm in Liberia. We're redoing all of the piping system in the building. The roof had excessive leakages, and that was driving the customer away. So you see these moles develop on the wall. It was affecting pins. We changed all of the fixtures in there. We changed doors as a result of the leakages. A lot of issues that were happening there that he has no idea of. So when he sits down and says mismanagement, I don't understand. But because you don't like me and you like a particular candidate, doesn't mean you call on the airways and you just laugh.
Was it ever taken back from you?
Never. So we signed a 10 years contract, which is also renewable for another 10 years. So the renovation is not my money. It's my money being pumped in, but with their acquiescence, it's going to be taken off the rent. So if they didn't know that there were structural issues, then they would not have approved that we spend that, because according to the contract, structural issues are for the landlord, the owner of the facility. But it's unfortunate how people just make up stories. We're talking national issues. We're talking about ideas for development. Somebody come with a lie, out of nowhere. And unfortunately, the individual who called, I really want to take him on. What do you own in Liberia? What do you?
You think you want to take him on? I think it's important that you address the other issues.
No, I'm going to that. I will go to that. It's good to take him on because these people call because they are stooges of people and they've got nothing to show. So if you got nothing to show, when people who have real assets in the country are talking, people who have proven experience in leadership, then you give them an opportunity, because most of the
that doesn't also negate the fact that he can ask you questions. He's a Liberian.
No, he can ask me questions, but he's not asking questions. He's insinuating. He here suggesting that I don't have capacity when I'm proving that. Then somebody talking about getting down to the people, Mr. Jerry. That's very important. That's what we're doing now. And like I told you earlier, that's our weakness. We were more public and engaging, but we were not getting into communities, which we're doing right now. What I didn't tell you, we're running a few programs in District Number 1 in Bassa, District Number 4 in Bassa. You'll soon see us. We invite you with us to go there. We're also running some projects in some other communities in Monserrato. By next week, in fact, we're launching some plenary campaign by next week as well. So different things has been done to bring us closer to communities. Do we recognize our weakness? Yes, we do. We should have gotten down to the grassroots a long time ago than what we currently did, than what we did in the past. Mr. Ishmael Flomo says some of my statements are loaded with errors. It depends how you look at the glass, Mr. Flomo, but thanks for the commendation. Nigeria was spending $20 billion on rice import. Are they spending $20 billion today? No, and we alluded to that. Have they reduced their dependence on importation significantly? Yes, they have. He talked about some of my investments are loaded with labor issues. I will tell you something today. Do you know the number one reason why foreign businesses are better run than Liberian businesses? It's not because of the owner, it's because of our mindset as a people. When the foreigner, the building material store owner, or the importer brings in foreigners, his businesses run very well. When we hire Liberians, it don't run. Many times our Liberian people are very laid back. They don't like to work, and so when you push them to work, then they say, "Oh, you got bad labor practice." And that's why one of the things as president, we set up a labor database. One of the unfortunate things in our country, if Mr. Jackson works here as an issue and he leaves and they sue him or he sue the company, there is no way company B will know, right? So if you set up a labor database like East as well as South Africa or America or other places, if you have pending labor issue, it'll be right there on your file. Mr. Jackson previously worked here. This is the allegation against him, the pending labor issue. What it does, it compels you to be compliant because you will never get another job until that issue is resolved. And if we did that, it would make people here more compliant. And I think that's one of the challenges we have. You talk about improving the avocado sector in Liberia. It takes a lot. It takes the government to do that. Because, for example, let's take the charges at the port. Many times when you bring things by air, the cost of freight at the port, the airport is quite crazy. Charges in terms of whatever else. More precise, what are our charges for fuel at the airport? What are our charges, other equipment usage charges? That's why we don't have the big cargo plane coming here. One time I wanted to export cassava from Liberia. I worked with a guy who I will not call him, working at one of the institutions now. He was in America. I put him on the assignment to do a feasibility study. Just shipping the cassava out of here because it would have been moved in 24 hours. The cost of freight was heavy. Why? Because this is not a market for freight. This is a market for human traffic. So in every respect, it becomes a problem. But when government reduces the charges and create an incentive for freight companies to fly here, then it creates a whole market. So that's why we may not be that market for avocado, but do we have the climate for it? Yes. But do we have the environment for it? I think avocado, you can export it by sea. You have to move it by air most of the time. And when it's moved by air, it has to go quickly. So in many respects, those are some of the challenges we have, and which requires government input, not necessarily an individual. Will Liberia win compact, Mr. Alexander Harvard? Compact, the Millennium Compact. I'm not privy to the documentations that they advance. Other countries are advancing. But, I'm of the opinion that it's good to look at your own finances, look at your own capacity. And then when you manage your own businesses, well, those are also who borrow lots of money from banks, who borrow from lots of money from banks because banks see how we manage our own finances, they see the progress we make, and I think it's also very important. So who we win? It's like you, it's like me. I'm not a Minister of Finance. Mr. Emmanuel Gonosi say I should redesign my strategy. Mr. Gonosi, I'm inviting you on board. I will be visiting the party office today. I'll be there by 4 o'clock. Come there. Let's have a conversation. Or let Mr. Jackson get your number. We're very open. We want to be able to hear from people like you who may probably have a better idea on how to connect. Same thing with Mr. Eugene Twanwell Williams. I know you very well. Come on board. Let's meet. We're doing some reorganization in the next coming days. You will see us naming different people that are young to different positions within the party so that they can start working. People have a lot of ideas outside our government, but when they get in nothing, let's face it, most of the people that you say have lots of ideas outside our government, the question is, what do they do for themselves outside our government? And it's unfortunate, most of the people we have in government do nothing for themselves outside our government. You get persuaded by them. When they get in, you expect them to change things around. If I were to open a radio station, Mr. Jackson came and said, I can manage it, I would say, here's the key, go and manage it. This is what I want every month. If another guy that I've never sat in a radio station before say I can manage it better, I would say, I'm a little skeptical. So you don't see Fortune 500 company just taking a novice and making him or giving the investments, people's investment. Liberia is your investment. You take Liberia and give it to the wrong people, they screw it up, and then you say the problem is chronic. Liberia's problems are not chronic. The people we've given it to have been the wrong people, and so they keep messing things up, and so the problem looks like it's chronic, but it's not.
What do you say to people who say most of your examples were from Nigeria? Nigeria has a very big population that can quickly accelerate growth, and so most of these things could be possible in Nigeria. Less to talk about, or least to talk about than Liberia that have a little over 5 million.
I use Nigeria. I could also use Ghana. I could have used Kenya. I could have used South Africa. But you see, many times if you were to talk about Mauritius or Singapore, people say far away. I use a country right within almost our same time zone. And what did I talk about? Power. Is it difficult to invest in power in Liberia? No, it's not. Can we do it in partnership with the government? Yes, we can do that. Can the government provide resources for that? Yes. Did the government of Nigeria provide resources? Because the reason why Nigeria is used most of the time, and even the same as Kenya, South Africa, because people are of the mindset, even Ghana, people are of the mindset that people should go and find their own money and come and do their thing and pay taxes. You open a new shop, Mr. Jackson decide, you know what? I'm going to go to China. I was able to raise 25,000, bring in some jeans trousers to sell. The next day, you're going to have tax people on you for you to pay taxes. There is never a conversation. Since this government came to power, when have they actually gathered the business community from different sectors, right? Let's say we deal with this sector, and say, what are your problems? How can we help you help us? If we are not making money, you're going to have budget shortfall. If we are hurting, you're going to have budget shortfalls. So you need to help us to help you. It's a win-win. You can't harm us and then expect increase in budget collection. So most of the examples I'm giving examples of areas where they work, where government participated with and help, like the vehicle thing we talk about, the innocent, and where this guy came with integrity issue. Do you know the guy that was importing that stuff? Who told you all of the people that were, do you know how ruthless the Nigerian market is? When I'm in Nigeria, I got not less than 10 bodyguards with me because of the sectors that I play in. In Ghana, I don't have to have that. In Liberia, I don't even walk around with some. So you see, some of these markets are very ruthless. And certain markets, if you have to play big, it has to be tough. Having said that, when you come and say, oh, it's because of integrity, no. These people threw on net and they affected a whole range, and so their people got rich, and for them it is well, in Nigeria, the people eat their own money. In Liberia, foreigners eat our money.
Is Mr. Simeon Freeman's movement for progressive change up for possible merger and or collaboration ahead of our next election?
We're open. We're very open.
To the extent that Mr. Freeman could be a running mate to somebody.
We're very open. We're very open. We've never thought that the way to political power is to be egotistical. We've never thought that you must be the president. We always thought that we needed to collaborate, to partner with other people. We're very open. Very open as a party. The members of the party agree to that. They embrace that. I also embrace that. We can partner. Who becomes the heir, who becomes the deputy heir will be on the basis of what type of political equity you bring to the table. If you have a lot more popularity than us, we're going to accept that and recognize that and realize that it is a path moving forward.
From your lens, looking at politics in Liberia, do you think Liberians are anytime soon prepared moving from CDC and the Unity Party kind of thing?
Oh yeah. Don't forget now. There was the Unity Party first after post-war elections. There was Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. She won for 12 years. Obviously, that has a significant impact on the country. And then there was a grassroots organization, CDC, that also came to power. So they've had an impact. There is no magic wand.
They've managed to seize the space, the political stage.
Right. So there is no magic wand as to what might happen going forward. The people of Liberia are not committed to any one party, as you've seen. Elections, there have been people that have ran as independent candidates in so-called strongholds of other political parties in Monrovia and other parts, and they've won. You've got lots of independent candidates in the legislature this year. You've got lots of people from ruling parties and other parties that didn't win. So the landscape is changing. The key thing is, how are you perceived by the people? Do they know you? And I think that's what we're trying to do now.
Do you have an MPC legislator at the moment?
Yes, we've got one or two of them.
Okay.
We're trying to get more of them.
Okay.
Yeah, we're engaging. Mr. Fokker Wilson.
What do you have?
A few of them. There's Mr. Barney, and there are 3 other guys that we.
Oh, Barney from Basa?
Right.
Okay, he ran on your ticket.
Right. We have a great relationship with him. There are 3 other people that we're trying to engage. I prefer not to call a name until the ceremony is done. Okay. 3 other independent candidates that we're working with from different regions. Then Mr. Fokker Wilson talked about touring Liberia. To talk about these ideas. We agree. Mr. Wilson, we're open if you're not currently committed, but if you are, I'm sure Liberia comes first. We're very open to working along with you, and I will take your number and let my people call you and let's have a conversation. We're open to ideas. The guy talked about payment in Nigeria, $15, payment in Liberia, $23. That's something people need to understand. The subscription rate in Nigeria was the same as Liberia, but it was in Naira. Payment is in Naira. Liberia has a dual currency region. So when the Naira devalued, I think the Naira almost went to 2,000-3,000 Naira to $1. Right now it's about 1,500 there, about to $1. So it affected the equivalent value in US dollar, which also affected businesses. But because it's a big market of 211 million people, the business decided, look, should we increase the price of subscription, or should we let it stay as is? Since it's a big market, the business focus on growth. I don't control subscription. In Liberia, it's not just in Liberia, it's the same price in Kenya, it's the same price all over. The same rate you pay here is the same rate you pay there. What you must also know with your emission on radio is that you carry on tax evasion, because you're paying to a guy that does not pay taxes. He's a Nigerian guy. He come to you, you put the box aside, you start to subscribe in Nigeria, you support the Nigerian economy, and then you will be the same person saying, well, the government is not billing roads, and the government is not doing that, and you're doing tax evasion. So just by that admission, I guess you did it in ignorance, but please don't do that again, and please be a very good Liberian by subscribing to Liberian things. There are things I could do elsewhere, but I prefer to do it here because then it helps the tax authority. Then thoughts on people with disability and technology. People with disability and technology, it's a serious thing. And we are of the opinion that Simple things should be done. You know, the last time when I spoke to the guys, things like braids, we don't have those. I think we should have equal opportunities for employment, and we make that a public example by making sure some of our key leads in government are people with disability. Because if the government makes that an example, either the guy is physically disabled or he has sight problems, I think what it does, it communicates clearly that government is committed to this. We're very much committed to technology. So when you hear us say reduction in government infrastructure, that's it. Think about it. How do you think you have leaks in government agencies? You still have from the Minister of Finance office, you have one messenger taking the paper down to controller office. These are times of smartphone. The guy just snap the picture up and send it to Mr. Jackson. It leaks right away. But if the minister secretary or the minister PA by email sends it and copy the minister to the controller general or to the deputy minister, it changes everything. And then if you want to access certain data, you have a whole data room. Those things can be accessed. I'm of the view that we need to have a tier system that changes all of that. We don't have a data center here, and those are things that I want to encourage.
Mr. Freeman, I'd like to say thank you so much. I hope we'll have more of these